Alex here with the final part of my Last of Us playthrough. And we're down to the last bit where we've reached Salt Lake City, and Joel and Ellie got caught in a torrent in the highway in the tunnels, where they got, quote, rescued by the fireflies and taken to the St. Mary's Hospital, where they were held up, where they beat Joel down into a coma because, despite the fact that he was clearly in distress trying to save a little freaking girl. And they rushed Ellie to the operating room without even waking her up, and let alone giving Joel and her a moment to go to see whether or not they want to go through with it. And you'd think they'd do that, but no, because the Fireflies are idiots. Yeah, for a resistance movement, they're pretty stupid, honestly. And Joel is, of course, grown so attached that he's not thinking straight, not helped by the fact that Marlene has to be the, I've known her before you card, despite the fact that Joel went above his pay grade to bring Ellie to your ungrateful ass. Clearly they've had a year to bond trying to find you, since Lord knows you suck. And I've watched her since she was a girl. Yeah, bravo, Marlene, some mother figure you've been. And so now, due to a completely avoidable breakdown in communication, Joel is now going on a rampage, trying to get to Ellie, which we are about to do, because I only had enough time to do the parts leading up to the hospital, so now we're in the hospital, about to go Rambo on everyone. And, Ellie, she has no say in any of this, so it's all been taken out of her hands. So you got one selfish asshole who's about to doom mankind, for all intents and purposes, against a crazy woman and her soldiers that are just going blindly into, without consent, to go ahead with an operation. Ellie was all too willing to go and do whatever it took to, help humanity, but you'd think that, hey, it took her and Joel a year to reach Marlene's stupid ass. You'd think that they could wait maybe an extra 5 minutes to let the crazy maniac and the girl that have been together for about a year at most to have a moment before going ahead with the operation, right? Well, that's not what happened. Instead, everyone is an idiot, and now we have a bearded idiot about to, for all intents and purposes, doom humanity. So, yeah, final part of the game, and of course, I will give my review. I don't know if I want to play the side story, honestly. I'm not too crazy about the game. It has its good moments, but I don't really think I'm crazy about it enough to do that. I think I'll just focus on the main story. I'm thinking about it anyway. Okay, the hospital. Bearded idiot dooms humanity, the game.
Smuggler! He's in here.
Well. Do I avoid him, or do I... I love how, I love how he looks back and didn't even see me. And they saw me.
The smuggler, he's in here.
Oh, dirty window that won't reflect my reflection. Too close.
The smuggler, he's in here.
Look at that. He looks back and he doesn't even notice me. One, two, and... Ah! Come on!
The smuggler, he's in here.
That was my fault.
The smuggler, he's in here.
Yep, poor Ethan. Hey, maybe you should have been nicer to Joel, been a little bit more considerate. And also, you know, let Ellie give consent first. I didn't pull the whole superiority card. Okay. Look at that. They got freaking M4s or M16s. A little late for the game, don't you think?
Hi, motherfucker.
Wow. The bandits aren't even this stupid. Yep, your resistance movement is stupid. They really, really, really are not good at their jobs. No wonder they lost. And why they kept getting annihilated everywhere we went. I realized I haven't used the flamethrower at any point in the game, now that I think about it. I mean, with how much the game emphasizes stealth, it's like, you know, I rarely ever had any moments to use it. Because I tried to be a good stealth player instead of just running past through everything like an idiot. Cordyceps X-rays. Looking for secrets. Just one guy right there. Uh-oh. Nope. Never mind. Multiple guys. It's probably best for them to wait till they separate.
Let's check over here. This.
Neither do I, buddy. For once, I agree. You know, it would have been nice to have gotten this gun in, like, the midway point of the game. There's really no point to have this weapon. Look at that. They give me bullets on their bodies. Something the majority of enemies throughout the game never did. Well, they got their bases covered, so it's gonna be tough getting to all of them unless I distract them. Gonna have to do that. Didn't work. He's staying where he is.
Son of a...
Oh, I fuck it. Well, I tried. Okay, where the heck did the game save me now? Oh.
Will? Nothing. What about you? Huh? Oh, fuck! The smuggler, he's in here!
Fuck it. Burn him. I've gone without using a lot of these weapons for much of the game. I figured, fuck it. Get it over with. Get it the hell over with and finish the game. Yeah, I can't upgrade anything. Well, the reinforcements already came because I burned 2 of them to a crisp, so that takes care of that problem. Go through here, I suppose.
He's over here!
Uh-oh. Coming this way. Crispy. I would have preferred using these on the zombies, but due to stealthing through most of them, I need to use it on something. No secrets, no nothing. Going up, or are we going down? Looks like we're going up. Yep, it's up. Sorry, Fireflies, you're gonna have to have somebody else restore all 3 branches of the government because you, frankly, sucked at it.
April 28th. Marlene was right. The girl's infection is like nothing I've ever seen. The cause of her immunity is uncertain. As we've seen in all past cases, the antigenic titers of the patient's cordyceps remain high in both the serum and the cerebrospinal fluid. Blood cultures taken from the patient rapidly grow cordyceps and fungal media in the lab. However, white blood cell lines, including percentages and absolute counts, are completely normal. There is no elevation of pro-inflammatory cytokines, and an MRI of the brain shows no evidence of fungal growth in the limbic regions, which would normally accompany the prodrome of aggression in infected patients. We must find a way to replicate this state under laboratory conditions. We're about to hit a milestone in human history equal to the discovery of penicillin. After years of wandering in circles, we're about to come home, make a difference, and bring the human race back into control of its own destiny. All of our sacrifices and the hundreds of men and women who've bled for this cause, or worse, will not be in vain.
Yeah, gee, maybe despite everything, it's a better idea to just pack up, go home, Joel? Because I think you're about to doom humanity, for all any of us knows. Flames. Pendant. Bryony Stewart Zume. I have no idea what kind of name that is and where it comes from. Around for stuff. Marlene's journal. March 15th, we finally crossed the Utah border. A couple of days, we'll be back with the others. Today, the crew is in much better spirits. Been worried about their morale since Greg and Tanya's passing last week. It's good to hear them laughing again. Robin came up to me and said, "Thanks for watching over us, Marlene. It was a small gesture, but I needed it." March 23rd, Ellie never made it. We arrived at the hospital. There was much celebration, at least for the others. Guess they're happy to see their old friends. We haven't seen some of these guys in over 10 years. After they told me the news, I couldn't eat, couldn't talk to anyone. Gee, I don't know. Maybe it's because you shoulda. Maybe it's because your men all died going through Cordyceps territory and then letting themselves get killed by the by the military. And then when we finally reach the point, you're already dead and nowhere to be seen. Then we go after your lab in the university. You're gone there. Yeah, like I said, you suck. Should be grateful to just be alive, but right now I just want to shut my eyes for a bit. March 24th, they look at me and I know what they're thinking, that we're a bunch of incompetent grunts. Oh, you think? But what was I supposed to do? I thought I was going to die. My men were being hunted by the entire Boston battalion. I had to get her out of the city. How was I supposed to know the Firefly escorts were already dead? God damn it. Yeah, maybe you should have taken her with you instead on the trip. Instead of, instead of waiting a year for me to come bring the girl to your ungrateful ass. Packed. In the end, I healed pretty damn quickly. My men were more capable than I gave them credit for. More than a handful survived the army's attack. Should have kept her with me. Instead, I handed her off to a couple of smugglers. Oh, boo-hoo. Should have kept her with me. Instead, handed her off to a couple of smugglers. Oh, gee, you think? Oh, little late to realize that mistake. Fucking fantastic. I failed you, Anna. I failed all of us. I am an incompetent grunt. Bravo, Marlene. Bravo. April 25th. Can't stand talking to any of them. Don't think I can take the stairs any longer. No way I can stay here. April 28th. One of our scouts just radioed in. He spotted an older man and a young girl entering the tunnel by the bus terminal. He thinks she might have red hair, but he's not sure. But what if it's her? Stop doing this, Marlene. Yeah, you should have told your men to go easy on Joel instead of knocking him the fuck out. The recon squad is about to head out and going to join them. When you're lost in a dark April 28th, when you're lost in the darkness, look for the light. She's alive. They're running tests on her now. Can't tell if I'm excited, scared, or just nervous. All I know is my hands won't stop shaking. Yeah, you should have told them to wake her the fuck up and ask if she really wants to go through with it. And, you know, give Joel and her a little bit of, you know, a couple of minutes. I mean, you waited a year out of your own incompetence, and Billy Boy and Joey Boy here had to, you know, he went the extra mile for you. Perhaps you could have, you know, waited 5 minutes or 50. Yeah. Like I said, stupid resistance movement. Marlene, you are no George Washington. Even he would be looking down and being pretty disappointed.
Yeah, that's it. I'm coming, Ellie.
And of course, Joel, well, he's being no better either. I mean, you get where he's coming from, but at the same time,
Hey, what was that?
scope doesn't go very far. Bad move. That was my fault. Much better. I'm guessing that's it. Well, out of the rifle. Bye, Dad. Sniped all of them with the rifle. Took a couple hits, but nothing I can't handle. Especially with how surprisingly forgiving the game is. Well, except for the ammo, anyway. Probably my main gripe with the game, gameplay-wise, other than pointless cutscenes. Oh, I split their heads open. Oh ho ho. Split them open with the rifle. I gotta give Naughty Dog credit for the gore department. Ugh. Imagine if the Uncharted games were this gory. No, they wouldn't exactly be the safe version of Gears of War anymore, that's for sure.
That should buy me some time.
Marlene's recorder, number 2.
Hey, Anna. It's been a while since we spoke.
Anna's dead,
I
isn't
just
she?
need the okay to proceed with the surgery. I really doubt I had much of a choice. Asking me was more of a formality. I need you to know that I've kept my promise all these years. Despite everything that I was in charge of, I looked after her. I would have done anything for her, and at times here's a chance to save us. All of us. This is what we were after. What you were after. They asked me to kill the smuggler. I'm not about to kill the one man in this facility that might understand the weight of this choice.
Really? You certainly didn't express it well enough.
Maybe he can forgive me. Oh, I miss you, Anna. Your daughter will be with you soon.
Yeah, critical mistaken judgment, Marlene. You did not ask how Ellie felt, if she was gonna give her consent. She likely would have, given how she's been about the whole thing, being that her brain likely has the cure to overcoming the Matango plague. But no, you just rushed her head to surgery and didn't even wait. Ugh. Idiot. That's likely the room. Yep. Well, bearded idiot's about to go ruin the whole thing.
Sweet Jesus.
Doctor? What are you doing in here? I won't let you take her. This is our future. Think of all the... Don't come any closer. I mean it.
You know, if this game actually had choices, I would have just said, fuck it and leave. But there is no choices in this game, so...
You fucking animal!
Harry, shut the hell up.
Why? Why do I gotta do this?
Come on, baby girl. I got you. I got you.
Great.
Oh, shit.
Run away with the cure to humanity.
Shit. I'm getting you out of here, girl. I got you. I got you. Come on. God damn it, which way? We're okay. We're okay. We're okay. I said get back!
And the elevator still works.
You can't save her. Even if you get her out of here, then what? How long before she's torn to pieces by a pack of clickers? That is, if she hasn't been raped and murdered first.
Oh, very assuring.
You to decide.
It's what she'd want. And you know it. Look. You can still do the right thing here. She won't feel anything.
You could have asked her first. And you could have let him have 5 minutes alone with her first, also. This all could have been avoided. We all know this.
What the hell am I wearing?
Just take it easy. Drugs are still wearing off.
What happened?
We found the fireflies. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you, Ellie.
Not really.
People that are immune. There's dozens, actually. Ain't done them a damn bit of good, neither. They've actually...
Oh.
They've stopped looking for a cure.
Really? Come on. Fucking liar.
I'm taking us home. I'm sorry.
Really? Stopped looking for a cure? Pretty sure no one would have said no to that.
Wait! Let me go. Please.
You just come after her.
Oh. So that's how humanity ends. One bearded idiot going off with the cure to humanity right there. Ugh.
Looks like we're walking. Should be a straight shot through here.
Playing as Ellie again.
Actually,
Briefly.
pretty, ain't it?
Yeah.
All right. Now watch your head going through.
Got it.
Feeling my age now. I don't think I ever told you, but Sarah and I used to take hikes like this. I think the two of you would have been good friends. I think you really would have liked it. I know she'd have loved
Bet I would have.
Singularity. The travelers have been crippled for now. Daniela's daring plan and her seemingly miraculous escape back home have made her a galvanizing figurehead to the last watch. Captain Ryan's sacrifices made him a martyr, an illusion Daniela won't dispel, but how long can she keep what really happened a secret? Anyone else think that these comics kind of go parallel with the journey of the game? Oh, she's got a robotic arm now. Something went big happened. Pretty sure I've missed a couple of these. Book 14, yeah, I probably missed a couple somewhere.
Down there.
Tommy's town.
Just a little bit further now.
Nice river.
I got you. Give me your hand. All right, come on.
Hey, wait. Back in Boston? Back when I was bitten? I wasn't alone. My best friend was there. And she got bit too. We didn't know what to do. So... she says... let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die. And then it was Tess. And then Sam.
None of that is on you.
You don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And you... no matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you've said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
Why do I get the feeling deep down she actually knows he's full of crap? You know, supposedly the game's theme was love, and that Last of Us 2's theme we hate, and that, Ellie loses her girlfriend or whatever to some cult, and that she goes real rage happy on them. Why do I have a feeling, you know, what if Ellie learns that about how, learns what's, I have a feeling it may happen. I'd be surprised if it didn't. What if Ellie finds out what really occurred back in that hospital, and she starts to despise Joel? Because, let's be honest, he's kind of the villain when you think about it. I mean, He went on a murder spree through that hospital, completely, you know, kidnapped Ellie because he started seeing her as a daughter, despite the fact that, you know, the issues they face are a little bigger than that. Like, come on, you've got freaking roving hordes of Matango mushroom zombies with more than likely not even barely 0.001% of a sizable amount of humans that have developed a resistance. For all you know, Ellie's the only one. We don't know if anyone else has it. So, yeah, as much as I may sympathize with Joel's position, and you certainly can, but his daughter issues are second fiddle compared to Ellie, you know, literally wanting to go through with whatever happened to give humanity a second chance. But of course, that didn't happen. She had no say in the matter. Joel spirited her away. Marlene didn't even give Ellie the courtesy of the choice of whether or not, even if there was no choice, at least, you know, tell her, hey, there's a chance this thing may go south. Are you really willing to do this? You know? For someone who swore to take care of a friend's daughter, she certainly did a bad job of it. Certainly did a bad job of respecting the girl, and of course, you had the communication breakdown between her and Ellie, with him and Marlene. You know, him wanting to do it his way, she wanted to do it her way, with no respect to Ellie wanting to, you know, go along with, you know, giving her, you know, what is her choice on the whole thing. I mean, yeah, she likely would have gone ahead with the surgery. It would have been in her character to do so, even if she died in the process. So, yeah, both Joel and Marlene are really the villains in the whole thing. And you play as one of them. And one of them gets away. So now the Fireflies are all but destroyed, with only a few survivors. And Lord knows what's going to happen to them. And, of course, the doctors that could have solved the whole problem. So, yeah. All this is due to this whole ending is really all just one calamitous fuck-up in communication on all three sides. And one of those sides was out cold for the whole thing. So yeah, Bearded Idiot dooms humanity. The game, pretty much. Yeah, Joel. You can relate to him all you want, but let's just be honest, he's a terrible human being. Fucking Kratos is more of a hero than he is. At least at the end of God of War 3, he realized how much damage he had done due to letting himself be clouded by his vengeance, and then he stabbed himself with the Blade of Olympus, letting the power of hope go out to the mortals, so they can try and rebuild, you know, what little of Greece is left from the mass chaos left in Kratos' one man of war against both the Olympians and the Titans. Whereas Joel just went and took away the only cure anyone knew about and had, and Lord knows if anyone else has figured anything out. So, yeah. So, what are my overall thoughts on The Last of Us after finally playing it after all these years? Me personally, I do personally think the game is overrated. And pretentiously so. I understand why people like it. You know, the characters are mostly well written. They are likable. I mean, I did like the interactions between Joel and Ellie and the other characters. You do sympathize with a lot of them, and some of them are you know, kind of fun, like Bill. Bill's kind of hilarious despite his sour attitude. And it had some pretty dark moments. Like, the biggest, the one thing I do really like about the game, and this is something I've praised other games too, is I really do like the overall our environmental aesthetic of everything, of a post-pandemic or apocalyptic America, or just any part of the world, really. Like Metro, for instance, or Bloodborne, where there's a lot of environmental storytelling, like, you know, how buildings and houses and vehicles that have been overtaken by nature, and seeing what's left, and also the bodies of those that are left there. You're kind of speculating what's their story. You know what I mean? So if you like, you know, that kind of aesthetic, you know, kind of like a life after people kind of thing, the game looks great in that regard. And there are a lot of places where I can definitely see where people would stop and just take in the environment. And of course, as is Naughty Dog standard, the graphics do look good even now, remastered or otherwise. So, visually and in terms of aesthetics, the game looks great. You can't really deny that. And even though it is minimalistic to a point, the soundtrack is pretty good too. Mostly acoustic guitar riffs, but pretty good ones. And also, the trophies in this game are mostly worthless. It's only just getting all the collectibles and beating the game on all the difficulties. And the faction multiplayer, which I don't know if anyone actually played. And even so, I wouldn't be surprised if nobody played it, since the game really pushed its story further. Now, in terms of general gameplay, this is where I kind of have the most issues with The Last of Us, because here's the thing. It's not that the game is praised, it's why the game is praised. It's praised. Like, oh, so cinematic and shit. Well, whoopity freaking shit. Does it really matter if that's the most important thing? Because last I checked, this was a game, and that's the problem I have with a lot of Naughty Dog games nowadays, especially, and Hideo Kojima's games. They emphasize trying to make their games as movie-like as possible, to the detriment of what it's supposed to be, a fucking game. You know, I believe Frank Miller said he got into doing comic books because he wanted to make them more cinematic or film-like, but stayed because to stop that from happening. Oh, look, there's a knife on the window. Don't remember that. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel what Naughty Dog, David Cage, Hideo Kojima, and their ilk are. They're basically Frank Miller. They just haven't gotten to the second part of that statement yet. They're all, in my opinion, under the delusions of that these games have to be more cinematic, when really they're just robbing them of what they really are. It's like apples and oranges. Like The Last of Us, you could make this into a good CGI movie, and you probably would not have even noticed. Yes, there's gameplay, but there's a lot of times where the gameplay is either minimalistic to the point of being non-existent, or what. So it's like, it's Like, look, for example, Kojima, the Metal Gear games. Metal Gear Solid 4, most of that game was a movie, let's be honest here. And then he made the opposite turn with Metal Gear Solid 5, where he overemphasized gameplay, generic gameplay that wasn't really revolutionary at all, and left you kind of flotsaming around like, what's even the point of what am I doing, you know what I mean? Well, here, Last of Us is kind of on the Metal Gear Solid side of the spectrum, where, admittedly, there is a lot more gameplay, but outside of the regular scavenging and sneaking and fighting, there's a lot of times where the game feels like it just wants to... It feels like it wants to play itself. Like, there's a lot of very pointless quick-time events in the game where Joel is supposed to, like, do something, like try to, you know, fight off an enemy or whatever, or an obstacle, but of course the game says, gives you a big fuck you and has Ellie save you, or Joel gets injured anyway. So it's like, why even do a quick time events for any of those if the game is just going to save itself regardless of what I do? You know what I mean? It's like, why am I bloody well here? If you want to be a movie, be a fucking movie, not a game. So that's where that's my main issues with it, are it's this delusion of that a game has to be more cinematic to be next gen. Well, I'm sorry, but if you want to do that, you might as well make a movie. I'm here to play a game. Granted, not a very revolutionary game, and that's probably the other big sin the game is. Let's just be honest, the gameplay for Last of Us is not that special. It's not revolutionary. It's not as you know what I mean, right? It's not revolutionary in the least. Much of what the game does has already been done elsewhere in other games, and in a lot of cases better. And I can tell you at least one series that has done what it does and does better, and I can name it right off the top of my head. Metro. All three of them. Granted, Exodus got to the crafting shit later in the game, after Last of Us had already done it, but still, it already had the goings for it even before this point. Now, here's, like, I will give the game props. Control-wise, it does feel very solid. It does feel, for the most part, very responsive. The shooting, especially when leveled up, is fairly well done. There's impact to your weaponry. You actually feel like you're firing high-powered weapons and firearms, which which kick like a mule. It does feel very good. And shooting in the there's weight behind it. It's just, for me personally, I feel there was not enough of it. A lot of the game is just walking around, not really doing anything. And a lot of the puzzles are really not that special either. They're simple. They're all simple ladder and stepping puzzles. Nothing you're gonna be left scratching your head about, whereas Uncharted had a fair number of good puzzles from throughout the series. So compared to Uncharted 4's abysmal gunplay, Last of Us, just having come first, is better than in that regard. Especially since it doesn't try to futz around with it. So weapon-wise, gameplay-wise, it's good. Puzzles, it's really nothing special. The scavenging is and salvaging for parts is serviceable, and you can craft some fair amount of stuff out of it, so long as you don't waste all of it. Now, where the game gets on my tits when it comes to this is the ammunition system. I'm gonna be frank, the ammunition system really sucks. Like, it's the one thing that fails to live up to the rest of the game. Like, the point of the game is resource management, right? You know, scavenging and saving as much as you can. Well, they got that right for all for all the health packs and secondary weapons like the shivs and Molotov cocktails, but when it comes to the weaponry, that's where the game really flounders. And like I said, the Metro games, especially the first two, already did this right in spades. Like in Metro 2033 and in Last Light, Exodus included, if you knocked out anyone or killed anyone, depending on your choosing, you could not only strip people's weapons of their ammunition, but also their bodies of it too, if they had it. And of course, since they often gave off very paltry amounts after knocking them out or killing them off, I mean, yeah, they do obviously shoot a lot more than they actually have, but for gameplay sake, let's just, you kind of have to roll with it. So yeah, they gave you a paltry amount, and you had to be very wise of how you used it. And often, many of the weapons you had to use often depended on what everyone else had, because, it was like, what are you going to use? Are you going to use your weapon that is not in anyone's hands right now, that is compatible with the round, or what? You got to be mindful of what you use. And in Metro, there were a lot of points where you have to be mindful of what you use, especially if you decide to go and murder everyone. So that way you can scavenge what ammo they have. Well, in The Last of Us, a lot of the ammunition is just artificially random to the point of the game very, very rarely giving you anything. Like, if I shot a guy with a shotgun, by this game's logic, wouldn't that mean that I should be able to scavenge from his shotgun and from his person, even if it isn't much? Or that guy's revolver, get his bullets, or their rifles. It's like, you know what I mean, right? Like, you give us this scavenging system where we have to pick off the environment, but when it comes to the enemies, tough luck. Go find, make sure to keep a lookout for ammo elsewhere. Now, at the end of the game, they didn't do that. It's like they started giving off the guns ammo like free candy. It's like they were thinking, yeah, you got this far, you might as well just go ape on everyone. Well, with the rest of the game, there are a lot of points where it's like, okay, they've all got weapons that I have. They're all shooting ammunition that I have. How come I can't scavenge any of them, especially if I'm running low on all of it? So it's like, yeah, it's like the one thing where I'm like, okay, you did everything else. Where's that? So yeah, it's gameplay especially in terms of its premise, is nothing special. It functions mostly well, but it's not that special, and some things could have been done way, way better. And speaking of things that could have been way better, the save and load system. The save and load system in The Last of Us is utterly, utterly pointless. Like, Metro Exodus's save system wasn't good, but at least whenever you saved and you loaded a game, it at least took you back to where you saved. Last of Us does not do that at all. There were several points in the game where I saved, and I would go to a point in the game where it kind of forked in the road a bit, and I wasn't sure where to go. And so I would revert to a save, but instead of taking me back to where I actually, saved manually, it takes me to where the game auto-saves instead. So what good is a save and load system, an old-fashioned, proper one at that, if the game doesn't even use it? Instead, just uses the autosave. Like, I hated it when Metro 1 and 2 relied solely on an autosaves, but at the very least, you weren't fooled into thinking you could do anything else. This is but with Last of Us, they show it you here, but it sucks. Like, you load game, and nope, just the autosave back where the game saved itself without your input. So that goes into probably the greater issue that I have with Last of Us. It's that the game's a lot of the times feigns being complex and user-friendly from the save system to, like I said, even the QuickTime events. But it's all an illusion. You're not in control. You're just along for the ride. You don't have any real choice in the matter. So yeah, despite my few positives of the gameplay, a lot of the game is so far up its own pretentious ass that you really don't have as much control over the game as it wants you to think you have. So yeah, while the game does have a lot of good moments, like especially even the calm moments to the gory gameplay moments, it really isn't as great in my opinion as other people say it is, other than for the story and cinematics, which really, if the gameplay is boring as shit at times, what's even the point? I might as well just watch somebody's playthrough, which I did a long time ago. And there was one other thing. Ugh, fuck it, I forget. Shit, I hate it when that happens. What was it? I forgot it. Production, Firefly Lab, Bust Evo. So, it's not a short game at all. You can probably run through it pretty good if you... Oh, I remember what it is. The stealth. I will admit, while there were points in the game where I kind of was left wondering, what? For the most part, the stealth is actually good. It's not perfect. There are some moments where I either I did get spotted, and I didn't even know what I did wrong, although there were a lot of points where I do admit I did screw up. But there's times where it's like, the characters will look at you, and they won't even notice you, like the ending there, where I go behind that one guy to kill the guy behind him, he looks back and doesn't react at all. So yeah, it's a pretty basic stealth system, but at least it works for the most part. And compared to the Uncharted games, it is way better. I will give The Last of Us this. It is far better a stealth game than the Uncharted games. That doesn't mean much, but at least they actually tried this time. Like, Uncharted, there's really no reason to stealth through any of it. It was absolutely awful in 2, a little bit better in 3, but you could pretty much just go through the whole game without it. And then 4 was just a mixed bag all over the place. Really, the only good things about 4 was just the platforming and the puzzles. The shooting sucked. The stealth sucked. Like, it is not... None of those games have aged well in terms of stealth. Last of Us did a reasonably decent job with its stealth elements, so I can't be too hard on it for that. Since it's like they actually knew that, hey, we can't have the shenanigans of Uncharted. We need to really improve that. So what the game does good, the stealth is reasonably good, decent, way better than the Uncharted games ever were. The shooting feels good and powerful, and you do have consequences to you. Oh, that's another thing. Speaking of consequences, because you could so easily restart encounters, there really is no consequence to losing in the game. The save system just auto-saves, so you can't really... So if you screw up, you're always saved anyway. You can restart entire encounters if you didn't like what you did. So there's really no lasting consequence to sucking in the game at all, really. I also find it very amusing how whenever the Cordyceps Matango zombies kill you, the screen cuts to black. Like, come on, really? Every other survival horror game, or at least games with horror elements, rarely ever shy away. I mean, come on. From Resident Evil to Dead Space to other games, every time you screw up or an enemy comes at you and you can't do, and before or you can react and they kill you, they usually give you the every head snapping, back splitting detail of your as punishment for sucking. And you're left going, oh, as you react to what happens. But in Last of Us, freaking bloater or clicker gets to you, they just cuts to black. Doesn't even show the full death. Like, oh, really, Naughty Dog? We can blow apart and sever the heads, limbs, and guts of every human and zombie in the game, but you black out whenever a bloater goes to rip my head off? Bullshit. Yeah. Blow me. Ugh. So yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just something I find utterly hilarious. And honestly, I'm not scared at all. I wasn't really scared at all. I mean, so, I don't know. Also, I do think the Cordyceps is a nice twist on zombies. That's different, because in a sea of just constant bioweapons and virus plagues, I do appreciate that that they went with something a little different. Not exactly new and original, but different all the same, because, let's be honest, I've owned both Microsoft and PlayStation stuff for a long time now, and yeah, Halo comes to mind. The Flood in the Halo games had both parasitic and mushroom, fungi-like properties themselves, so I already had experience facing them. And also, Ishiro Honda, the director of the original Godzilla movie and several of its sequels, he made a movie in 1963 called Matango: Attack of the Mushroom People, where a bunch of seagoing folks end up stranded on an island, and they get attacked by a bunch of possessed, and zombified by parasitic mushrooms and mushroom monsters. And the last main character isn't, of course, infected and starts turning into one of them in an insane asylum at the end of the movie. So yeah, Last of Us, it's pretty much the road crossed with Matango. An older gentleman and his younger kid or surrogate kid in this case, going across America trying to survive after a deadly pandemic or apocalyptic event happened, plus the mushroom zombies of Matango. So yeah, not entirely original, but it is different from everything else in that respect. So yeah, in overview, while I do understand why a lot of people like Last of Us, and it did have a lot of good moments in it that even I will admit were pretty striking, I personally think that the game is praised for a lot of the wrong reasons, since it doesn't really revolutionize or do anything new other than shiny cutscenes. But the characters, you like them well enough, even though some of them clearly are not really good, especially by the end of the game. A lot of character banter is pretty entertaining, especially Ellie with the joke books and all that, and her little quips. And the Cordyceps is a pretty, well, not original, like I said, but still different enough thing from zombie flair that we tend to get. And of course, like I said, the graphics and gunplay are good and decent. It's just, I've already played other games that Last of Us does, but does it far better, namely Metro. So I've already I've already played, in my opinion, a superior game. Maybe not the best optimized series of games, but in terms of gameplay and premise, I have to say the Metro games are far superior to The Last of Us. It may not... Yeah, there are moments in the Metro games where you do kind of have to be wheeled around by the story, but at least to me in those games, I always felt there was still some semblance of interactivity, and you still had control over what you were doing a lot of the time. Whereas this game likes to take you by the hand, make you think you're actually making a difference, but really nothing you do matters, except for when you have a gun in your hands and can blow a person's head off. So yeah, shiny graphics, decent music, decent writing and characters, but in terms of gameplay, really nothing special. I'd honestly go back and play the Metro games far more times than I ever will play The Last of Us. It's a decent one-time playthrough. Nothing I really think you'll ever really want to play again. It's like the same reason I never played the Batman Arkham games very much. I mean, yeah, those games had fun gameplay, but there really was no lasting value to come back. Although I will give this game credit, there is a lot more unlockables, even if it's than that game ever did. Mostly, yeah. So that I will give the game this credit. At least there's a lot of stuff you can unlock. Mostly t-shirts and backpack-related things. But hey, at least there is some incentive to go back. Not much, but some. So yeah, will I do the Left Behind side story? I don't know. I mean, let's be honest, with Last of Us 2 coming and my friend having the game, I figured, what the hell? Let me give it a fair shake so that way I can at least back up my thoughts on the series as a whole. Now, will I... So yeah, and Left Behind, well, I'm not too serious about the game like other people are. Again, I've played better, much more, gamey games, as is proper. So, I am glad I did finally get to play it, but at the same time, I'm really not... The series really did not do enough to hook me, really. So I don't really care whether or not I want to do Left Behind or not. Funny enough, isn't Left Behind the name of a book series? A pretty crappy one. And there was a movie with Kirk Cameron in it. Oh god. So will I play Last of Us 2? Probably. If my friend gets it and I can borrow it off of him, because I have really no plans on buying that game. Hell, I borrowed this game because I really didn't care enough to buy it either. So he'll likely get it, and if he does, I will borrow it off of him. Because I wasn't really that invested enough in the series anyway to really do it. So, who knows, right? As for what I expect from the second game, well, considering the hatred theme, I'm expecting at some point, and I hope it happens, that Ellie, figures out that Joel lied to her and murdered Marlene. But I also hope that she lets him explain his side of the whole thing. But he still needs a good grilling after what he did. And as for gameplay, well, here's the other problem. Last of Us 2, outside of maybe one or two articles, they showed nothing. Let's be honest. All they showed us was just pretty cutscenes of two girls macking at a party and Ellie going on a rage moment. Nothing we haven't seen done in other games, really. And when the only new things they can say they can reveal gameplay wise are you can jump now, which is as common can be in most games, and that there will be dogs as enemies because dogs, we haven't seen those in any other action game. You know, it kind of leaves me thinking, yeah, you may have a story that you suckered a lot of people into. Yeah, you may have a kind of sort of pretentious story that you fooled a lot of people into falling in love with, but your gameplay, as far as anyone knows, is not that special. So, yeah, The Last of Us 2, I might play it, but I'm not invested enough in the series enough to buy it, so I'll likely play it just to say I did off by borrowing it, but I'm not really anticipating it much, let alone enough to buy it, so yeah. Gameplay overall is solid. Graphics, again, solid. Music is solid. Character dialogue is solid, but I do find a lot of what the game is praised for to be utterly pretentious, since most of it is really nothing special. Let's just be honest. I've played better, and I've seen better. So, yeah, that's my overall feeling. It's a decent game, but it's woefully overrated and praised for a lot of reasons that really aren't praiseworthy. So, yeah, sorry, but you can make your game as cinematic as possible. It doesn't fix the issue that you kind of forget that you're even making a game, and instead just trying to make a glorified movie with vague interaction. But yeah. Anyway, Last of Us, it's you know, glad I played it. Glad that I was able to finally do so I can say I've done it and say my piece with it. I don't think I'm gonna do Left Behind. I'm really not motivated to, and if I and the only way I will play 2 is if I borrow it. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, 10 parts worthy of this playthrough. So yeah, that's the story. Bearded idiot dooms humanity to Matango mushroom zombies. So so yeah, as for what I'm gonna play next, I don't know. I do have a couple of games on the shelf, but since it's my birthday week, I might go looking for stuff. I'm not sure really, but you know, I'll whatever happens, I will announce it either on my Twitter or on the communications section on my YouTube channel. And of course, Iceborne is still gonna keep going for the time being as well, since, well, we did the Resident Evil crossover last night, so that's done. So only thing that matters now is what new monster comes next. Like they did release a couple of new weapon quests, like the Black Eagle Charge Blade, but I'm not gonna show that because really it's just like I'll likely show it off on regular gameplay anyway, with whatever happens. So unless it's a new monster with new story and gameplay elements, I'm not gonna really stream anything from that game unless I'm really motivated to do it, which I'm frankly not until then. And that's currently the agenda, or lack of one, at the moment. So when I come back, you know, I'll figure something out. So overall, Last of Us, decent game for what it is, but for me and my money, not really that memorable, and frankly is overrated and pretentious with a lot of what people think is great about it. But hey, that's just me. If you like the game, if you enjoy the game, if you're going hard, balls deep into the sequel, go ahead. It's your money, you're tasting games. I'm not gonna stop you. So I may not like the game all that much, like others do. Who am I to point a gun into your head and tell you why you shouldn't like the game? Hey, if you like it, you like it. Just so long as I'll respect your position on it, so long as you respect my position on it. And the fact that I think Naughty Dog is more and more forgetting how to actually make a game, like Kojima. Hell, remember Jak and Daxter? That had way more gameplay, in my opinion. I need to play those games. I only ever played part of 2. Maybe in the future. So yeah, that'll do it for The Last of Us. I will mule over what I want to do next. And we'll see what happens. So yeah, not much more to say, lest I keep droning on and on until my voice hurts, which never mind, it already is. So I think that'll do it. So that's it. Another game down, and another one to go, whichever it is. So thanks for bearing with me on this The Road Matango crossover of a game. And I'll be back later with something else when I think of something. So yeah. Okay. Bye, and be back soon with another one. Oh Lord, my outro.